first time I saw your face, I said, my, where is this place that you've been hiding yourself? Fears. I'm glad that I found you, now my heart can cheer. I finally got someone of my own who makes me feel like the true king of my throne. All the diamonds, pearls in the world can't see, but the joy that I have, there's no currency. Big bad, just like a hooray, so that I can say that I love you, babe. Hold you close to me, that's my destiny, cause I'm glad that he made you a gift. Big bad, just like a hooray, so that I can say that I love you, babe. Hold you close to me, that's my destiny, cause I'm glad that he made you a gift to me. Unforgettable, your eyes, your lips, the way that you hold me, caress me with your fingertips. My sun, it rises and falls around you. This house is not complete without me and you, girl. The way you taste is like no other. The way you love me, you a real bad mother. What I feel is unconditionally. I'm happy that you're a gift with God's guarantee. Yeah, hooray, so that I can say that I love you, baby. Get close to me, that's my destiny, cause I'm glad that he made you a gift here to me. Big bad, hooray, so that I can say that I love you, baby. Hold you close to me, that's my destiny, cause I'm glad that he made you a gift here to me. So that I can say that hold you close to me, that's my destiny, cause I'm glad that he made you a gift to me. Oh yeah, I'm glad that God sent you to me. I'm glad that God sent you to me to make me happy. Yeah. Big bad, just like a hooray, so that I can say that I love you, babe. Hold you close to me, that's my destiny. Thanking you for the gift that you blessed me to receive. Oh, how wonderful you are, for what you've given me. I can only describe as a dream. This evening is real to me. Big bad, just like a hurry, so that I can say that I love you, babe. Hold you close to me, that's my destiny. Big bad, just like a hurry, so that I can say that I love you, babe. Hold you close to me, that's my destiny, cause I'm glad that he made you a gift to me. Big bad, just like a hurry, so that I can say that I love you, babe. Hold you close to me, that's my destiny, cause I'm glad I love you, yeah. I'm glad that God sent you to me.
Ghost rider whip, neighbors yelling y'all crazy. E40 slang, vocabulary gravy. Hustle so strong, lead a whole block hazy. Curbside chatter, deals under street lights. Hustle on the corner like a fiend chasing green stripes. Knock steady, hitting speakers bark like a pit. Street level impact, the ground might split. Street level impact, with a baseline crack. From the trunk to the block, no way to turn back. Hands in the air, we gon' make this clap. Street level impact, yeah we built for that. Street level impact, with a baseline crack. From the trunk to the block, no way to turn back. Hands in the air, we gon' make this clap. Street level impact, yeah we built for that. Engine growling, pavement screaming in protest. Sideshow circles, rubber scars on the cold deck. Money on the table, dice hit the pavement. Flip it like a DJ, stacks in amazement. Hypey in my bloodstream, bounce like hydraulics. Game tight, sharp as a barber's wallet. From Oakland to Vallejo, the vibe stays solid. Street level impact, raw and symbolic. Street level impact, with a baseline crack. From the trunk to the block, no way to turn back. Hands in the air, we gon' make this clap. Street level impact, yeah, we built for that. Street level impact with a baseline crack from the trunk to the block. No way to turn back. Hands in the air, we gon' make this clap. Street level impact, yeah, we built for that. Street level impact.
Mic check. And we're back. Hola. Hola, muchachos. Yes, this is another episode of Street Level Impact Podcast. Me llamo the Tycoon. And there's Igor Beats on the ones and twos. For those that didn't understand, my name is the Tycoon. That's what I was saying. Y'all can see I'm in my new outfit today. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, this is another episode of Street Level Impact Podcast. Based in the community, for the community. We just out here trying to uplift. And with that being said, let's get off into it. We're here to give y'all some more of the news, as well as, just discussing some different topics and stuff too. Like I said, I guess we'll just get started on what why I'm dressed like this, and so we can move on. Well, I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but I ended up taking a trip over the weekend. Went down there, Southern California, as well as across the border. I went out to Mexico. I went out to, I spent a day or so in Tijuana, and it was dope. You know what I mean? The experience was it was good. Sometimes you just need a break. You're working all the time, different stuff. So I just decided, okay, slide down there. It ain't that far. This happened to be my first time crossing the border. Every step of the way was an experience. And when I say that, it made you think. On one side, it made me appreciate, being a United States citizen and certain rights, as well as, or whether you want to call them freedoms or, whatever it is, privileges that we have that other people aren't fortunate enough to have, and we don't appreciate those until we're somewhere where we don't have them. So I definitely obtained a different level of appreciation for where I'm from. At the same time, I also saw how being there, to be honest, is no different than being here. So, that, and when I say that, just from different things I observed as far as, the people, just the overall culture, how the people were moving, just the overall situation of it, the environment, and, hey, it's the same everywhere. So it's like, don't, at the same time, don't sit there and, just act like, oh, the world is coming to an end, or, you know what I mean? Like, you just, nothing, the higher power ain't gonna put nothing on you that you can't handle. So it's like, that's what I saw out there too, because, again, I seen some stuff in the forms of poverty that made me appreciate where I am, and, I also saw stuff that motivated me and inspired me, But yeah, overall it was a good trip. I went down to downtown Tijuana, had a blast, down there on Revolucion, I think that's how you say it, Avenue, and a couple other streets too, but yeah, we'll talk about that another time. Yeah, but it was cool. It was a lot of vendors. It was, performances, a lot of vendors, but like I was saying too, just the way of life there it really ain't no different from here, but it was just, you saw it like, in real life. This is people real life situation. Like from the moment I crossed the border, because I actually walked across this time. I could have drove, but for the experience, it's like, okay, now I want to walk. And you'd be surprised too on how many people actually cross the border on a day-to-day basis. Whether it's, they work on one side, live on the other, or, just people going, to vacation or to hang out, or people going to shop. Because, there's a lot of stores that are in the States that aren't in certain countries. The only stores that I seen that they had out there that we have was little restaurants like KFC. I seen a McDonald's, a Domino's Pizza, couple spots like that. But as far as, other type of chain stores like we have out here, no Walgreens or nothing. I believe I heard that they do have a Walmart out there, but yeah, so it's like everything else, it was different. I mean, they had Uber out there, saw Uber drivers, and we actually caught some Ubers when we were out there. Uber Eats, so they had certain things, but other stuff, like you said, it's a different country. So, and surprisingly, I met a bunch of different people that was from out here, or they used to live out here in the Bay Area at one point. I thought that was pretty interesting. I was walking on the beach, and they playing Bay Area artists on the beach. Like one of the vendors, I'm walking by, and all of a sudden I'm hearing Larry June, and I'm like, yeah. So like, okay, well, wait a minute. They know what time it is, and then of course, you can look and tell by the way, certain people were dressed. Like, okay, they look like they might travel back and forth a lot, or they've been up here before. But yeah, the food was great, and out here too, that kind of tripped me out because, out here like in the Bay Area, they always had a debate about, or even in California, who has the best, Latin food, who has the best Mexican food. You know what I mean? And it's been debatable, and a lot of people say, right here in the Bay Area, particularly in Oakland. And I can honestly say, as somebody who's been eating that all my life, and in different parts of the Bay Area, and now that I've actually went down there and had some that, Oakland is doing its thing. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't really, there was nothing wrong. The food was great down there. I ate just wanted to try something new, but I ate a fried octopus taco. You know what I mean? Fried spicy octopus taco, and it was different, but it was good. Of course, is the texture of the tentacle or whatever it was, but they had it in pieces. You know what I mean? Like fried up like nuggets. So, and it was on the taco, but that was cool. And I ate some other, because I ate at a restaurant that was along the ocean side on the beach, and then I ate at another spot in downtown Tijuana, where their market and stuff was. But yeah, like I said, it tripped me out the whole time, because even out there is like, again, to me, downtown Tijuana, it kind of reminded me of downtown San Francisco, or, combined with the Mission District, or you can even say downtown LA, where it was, downtown Tijuana was kind of, it was spread out. It had its sections, and it was a lot of buildings, to where, I'm looking at it and it's like, man, this looked like this is, as far as being a thriving city, or even at one time it once was. But that was the other thing that tripped me out and brought me back to reality, is because I seen also that like a lot of their buildings, we think that we have it bad out here as far as, the amount of abandoned or empty buildings that, that people own, but they're not fixing up, they're not renting them out. the amount of buildings that, and I don't want to say it in a funny way, like out of code, but a lot of them definitely look. I'm trying to look for the word. They needed to be, huh? Yeah, dilapidated. Somebody else said that too when I was trying to describe it before. Yeah, dilapidated. Basically like a lot of the buildings where the structures, needed work. There's a lot of buildings that look like they should have been, torn down and put back up. And I didn't understand, like, it's prime real estate areas and everything. You see, like, of course, you can see the potential everywhere, or even with some of that stuff and older restaurants, different things, you can see where certain things once were. But that's what I mean when I say it kind of snap you back into the reality of how they're living in their country, And also, of course, it being my first time, I did go out there and, you can pay with U.S. dollars, but also, you can exchange to their currency. And when I switched over to get pesos and other stuff, that's when I started really noticing the difference because, our money goes further out there. And so then to really, I'm doing the same stuff that I do out here, out there or more of it. And it just tripped me out because I'm also looking at the people that's working out there and the people that's on the street hustling, whether they hustling or they street vendors or whatever. And it was like, wow, they really doing this just to get a little bit of this. And they got to work even that much harder for their money to even come close. You know what I mean? They almost twice as hard, you know what I mean? Just for the money to even make. So, and like seriously, I seen people out there with kids as young as 4 and 5, 6 years old, walking right alongside them, holding boxes of candy and gum, trying to sell them to, to people. And yeah, it was it was a humbling experience, but overall I enjoyed it. The people were great. Even the ones that didn't necessarily speak English, and of course I speak a little Spanish. I'm not as fluent in it, but I know how to get some things done. I understand some stuff, but overall, just I dealt with where I was at. A lot of people were friendly, seriously. So I thought it was great. I thought it was a dope experience. I went to the beach, and right there where the border, where the actual the fence is that goes all the way out into the water and everything, and that was kind of a humbling experience too, because you can look and you say, okay, well, this side of it right here is United States. They had Border Patrol, a truck posted on that side of the beach, on that side of the fence. So it's like ain't no getting over there. But just at the fence alone, even on the Mexico side, it was, of course, it's tourists coming in want to take pictures by it, but there was a lot of people too that looked like they were locals, and whether they were coming there to hang out or they missing a loved one that they probably got separated from. You know what I mean? It was just the aura, the energy in that whole area was a little different, and it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong, the beach itself is beautiful, but like I said, just that one particular part up along the fence, like, to me, I kind of felt like I was, I was stepping on something that I shouldn't, you know what I mean? Because you got some people sitting there, tourists just taking pictures, but then when you look on the fence, you can see names are being written up there, and crosses, makeshift crosses are put up, out of wood, pieces of wood and stuff. So I just, was like, damn, because yeah, you never know, people like I said that separated from families, or never get to see or hear from again. That's a lot to think about. But yeah, the buildings, because even towards the beach, like I was seeing some stuff, and again, it was beautiful, and they had nice restaurants and stuff along the beach. They had 7-Eleven, you know what I mean? Just all kind of different stuff. But At the same time, as far as looking at how the normal, everyday people live out there, and like I said, just the conditions of some of those buildings, we think that we have it bad out here, and it's not. You had to pay to use the bathroom everywhere. So there was no necessarily no public free restrooms anywhere. It cost like 10 to 12 pesos to use the bathroom. Just different, stuff that people take for granted out here. Like, hey, yeah, there were a couple places where, like, restaurants where, of course, if you were dining in there, you were able to use the restroom. But even then, they was expecting tips. You know what I'm saying? So, it was, like I said, it was overall a good experience, though. I definitely am planning another trip. But, yeah. So with that being said, y'all can check out my social media pages. You might see a few pictures. Like I said, that's where I got the hat from. This is one of the things that I definitely wanted to get when I was there. And so I made sure I grabbed me one. But yeah, man. And again, like I said too, I highly recommend that, if you're able to go, get your passport or whatever, ain't nothing wrong with getting outside and traveling, but you'll learn a lot. And like I said, you'll be surprised on what people take for granted out here where we at, even the language barrier thing, some of that, we take certain things for granted out here. We look at people a certain way that aren't from here that don't speak English. And it's different when, you're the only one, or it's only a handful of people out there that can actually speak, English in that country. And so you really got to know something, or, I mean, of course, there's certain things you could do just by nature, but other things, you got to know something or somebody. But, yeah, so much for that. I'll let you guys know when I plan on returning. If you know anybody down there, if you even listening from down there, because I did talk to a few people, tap in and, give us some recommendations on where to go next time. Or even other parts of Mexico, because I know some people that are traveling or that have been to Ensenada and Cabo, Cancun, a couple places. But, yeah, other than that, I think I want to go to Canada next. Just want to see, like you said, how the environment, because, again, I didn't really feel, like any prejudice or racism or any of that necessarily going on. I mean, again, when people talk about things like, cartel or even dealing with the police, I could see that it was there, but at the same time, it wasn't like they was messing with you unless you was just, going out of your way to do something, and they already know you there to have fun. I mean, everywhere I was walking, like I said, they was trying to sell me something, or give me a drink, or you know what I mean. It was different. Oh, that's the one thing too that I wanted to say. Again, when it comes to appreciating certain things, or at the same time certain things that make you look at our government or our economy and how these different industries work. One thing I did notice, I saw pharmacies on almost every corner. No, seriously, Igor, like the part that I was on, like Revolution, for example, is kind of like Fremont Street in Vegas. You get what I'm saying? But imagine every other store, every 3-4 stores is pharmacies. There's people standing out there actually trying to get you to, handing out cards with discounts, trying to get you to come in. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, with all these pharmacies, and y'all got all this medication, first of all, I shouldn't hear nobody coughing. I better not hear a cough or sniffle or nothing, okay? It shouldn't be no disease in Mexico. Not with all the, like I said, it was too many pharmacies. Too many. And I know what you guys are going to say, like, oh, that's not real medicine. Well, that's not necessarily the case. because we have to realize too, the medications that we get, some of them are available in other countries, some are not. And it goes both ways. Like out there, there's some stuff, see, we have to get things approved here by the FDA, the Food and Drug Association. So when it comes to, different types of medications, vaccines, all that kind of stuff, all of that still has to get approved. So, and I just remember reading this, various times, but like, for example, I want to say cancer, supposedly there's a cure out there for it. They just haven't released it in the United States yet. AIDS, HIV, things like that. Like, there are, in other countries where the medication is there where you can get it and prevent it. You understand? Well, not, or cure it, excuse me, not necessarily, prevent, but more or less to cure those things. Whereas out here, we ain't even got access to none of that yet. Or it's definitely going to be for a different price. So it was something to think about, but I thought that was interesting. Like I said, I've never seen so many pharmacies in my life in one spot. Like literally, in one district, easily over, the same way we see smoke shops, on every corner is, liquor stores on every corner, it was pharmacies. But yeah, so I don't know. It's a trip too, because once I got back out here, I started seeing some stuff that was going on, and it was one article that came up on the news, the segment that they did the other day, and I thought it was kind of interesting, seeing I just came from Tijuana, that here in California now, and here in the Bay Area, along with the rest of California, but they had an officer that was out doing traffic stops. And so now what they're doing is they are, highway patrol and officers, they on the freeways, but traffic stops for truck drivers. And for those of them that, you can tell, are obviously of, possible immigrants or, from other countries, specifically, Spanish-speaking people, that they're now getting tickets if they can't fluently speak English or read English. I thought that was interesting because, number one, all through Southern California, past San Diego, from what I was seeing, even the freeway signs, all the exits were in Spanish on the California side. So I was tripped off of that, and I mean, like up here, we don't notice it necessarily. We're not paying attention. We have a few, streets with, a few freeway exits with certain street names and stuff. So, hey, that's just what the name of the street is. But when I was down there, I had to, all of it, it was literally in Spanish. And I thought that was interesting, because again, okay, that means that everybody got to be able to figure it out or know how to speak a little bit, the closer you get down there. But yeah, up here, what they're doing now is if they pull over the truck drivers and, of course, asking for license, registration, regular stuff, but now they are basically like conducting small tests to see if they can, if they can read and speak English. I think it's a good thing because you got to be able to read the signs. You know what I mean? Like different stuff's going on the road, even the electronic signs. If you can't read English to know what they trying to warn you of, then that can be imperative, or you might be for example, depending on what you're driving, you know, you might be driving, like I know how here on 580, the big rig trucks, you can't be over a certain size and drive on 580. Other than that, you have to be on the other interstate, on the 880. Different things like that. So, you know, and we also know, and for the people that drive trucks know, they have different places where you have to weigh in on the freeway. And so I guess that's what had happened, is that they had caught the trucks, and the truck didn't stop. And, you know, I guess because of what they were hauling and, you know, how they was moving, they got pulled over. And so, yeah, that's what they're doing now. And, you know, people are receiving tickets for it. I don't necessarily think that that's, you know, I don't think that that's categorizing or targeting people. I think that that's just making sure things are going right the way they're supposed to on the road. Earlier today, I seen an incident where same thing, you know, certain parts of the Bay Area they're targeting. I mean, you know, they're looking for people that are driving reckless or, you know, excessively speeding and things like that. And it showed this one officer where, you know, he was catching a couple people and they were speeding in like a 35-mile-an-hour zone, right? One of the people that they pulled over was a Korean guy who was an immigrant. He was here visiting, right? Both his, I guess his visa and license or whatever it was, all of it is due to expire, I think, like in the next month or so, or he's already, you know, he's close to overstaying. But he was doing 77 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, you know? And yeah, like and like that, you know, yeah, some of those other countries, and you know, there's different rules, and so people, you know, driving is definitely something you got to pay attention to. And so yeah, I don't necessarily think, you know, that that's a bad thing, because I seen that some people were giving their opinions like, oh, it's discrimination and all this and that. Well, not necessarily, because if you can't read what it's saying. Yeah, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, the numbers, I guess, you know what I'm saying, but if you can't, like you said, if it's a certain sign that's telling you, hey, this exit is closed, or that is, you know, if it's road work, or if it's going to be this going on for certain many miles, you got to be able to see what that says. And you know what the speed limit is, you know. But yeah, after that, I want to take a break real quick, and then we come back. Yeah, I got a few other things that I want to talk about, because a lot of stuff that happened up here in the Bay Area in the last few days. So I'll be back right after this. Like, share, and subscribe. Street Level Impact.
Bank live! Bank live! Bank live!
Welcome to Sweet Fingers, where the flavors of Jamaica come alive. Our talented chefs blend authentic Jamaican ingredients with a touch of love and passion. From tender oxtail stew to flavorful coconut shrimp to our snapper fish, we serve up the best of Jamaican cuisine. Whether you're looking for a taste of Jamaica or an unforgettable dining experience, Sweet Fingers is the place to be. Feel the rhythm, taste the spice, and immerse yourself in the vibrant Jamaican nightlife at our restaurant, where every night becomes a celebration of island flavors and unforgettable experiences. Come and experience the soulful flavors of Jamaica today. Nobody does it like Sweet Fingers, baby.
Are you ready to honor the legacy of my brother and hip-hop legend Shock G and make a difference in the community? Show your support for the East Oakland Collective, EOC, by purchasing the new Shock G Humpty t-shirt designed by Shamari Smith. It's available at beatsforhope.com. My brother Shock G was a multi-platinum hip-hop pioneer and producer who was deeply committed to helping the community, culture, and music of his time. His vision for helping humanity was honorable and has inspired people to come together and see to those that need important attention and love. By purchasing the new Shock G Humpty t-shirt, you are supporting the EOC which helps provide essential services in East Oakland. Together, we can make a difference as we honor Shock G's legacy and support our friends at the EOC. Get your Shock G Humpty t-shirt today.
We good? Okay, yeah, we back. Street Level Impact Podcast, you know, coming to give you another one that's not like the other one. You know, tune in, tell a friend. Like I said, like, share, and subscribe. And chime in, you know, by all means, if y'all watching on Twitch, if you're watching on any of the other, you know, platforms, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, IG, you know, go ahead and drop something in the comment section or hit an inbox, you know, if you want to share your thoughts or if you got some opinions about any of the things that we talking about, you know. But yeah, like I was saying before, we took the break, you know, that it was a lot going on with the roads, and that was something that I noticed even out there when I was in Mexico too, is because, yeah, the driving is real reckless, you know. But again, it, you know, it makes you, like I said, appreciate how certain laws or, you know, certain things are a law to where we can try to, you know, monitor certain things. Because again, that's, like I was saying, they pulled a guy over out here talking about he was doing 77 and a 35. Like, that's crazy. Like, you definitely running somebody over. Ain't no chance to stop or nothing, you know. And shit, I was in, you know, traffic. That was a whole nother story in itself this morning. For those of y'all that are watching that are in the Bay Area, you know, if you were stuck on the freeway this morning on the 80, I feel your pain. I was on the freeway for 3 hours this morning, okay? 3 hours to go, 3 hours of what normally would have been a 30-minute ride, okay? 45 minutes at the most, and that's driving in the carpool lane during commute hours, okay? This morning, and there's been stuff happening on all these freeways. Every other day, to be honest with you, it seems like there's something going on, whether it was a crash or accident, you know, from people speeding, you know, of course, high-speed chases, people trying to evade the police. But, yeah, just all types of accidents on all different freeways. I know on the San Mateo Bridge a few days ago during commute hours, there was an accident. So basically, you know, one whole side of the bridge was damn near, you know, basically shut down. You know, people couldn't nobody travel. They had it, you know, I guess it was that bad of an accident, and it took that long to clear everything up. This morning, I guess there was a accident, and an officer, I believe, one of the Caltrain workers said it was like an officer-involved shooting that took place. But the whole 80 freeway coming west. So coming west is coming into the Bay Area for people that, you know, might not know what I'm talking about. So when I tell you guys that from the Vallejo Bridge, the Carquinez Bridge, okay, and I could say even further than that, because the freeway went from moving to not moving at all, literally a parking lot. Nobody was going anywhere. It was, I guess, like I said, accident, and from what I heard, officer-involved shooting on the freeway in the Hercules area this morning, and everything was blocked off, trying to get, you know, here into the Bay. So, you know, they basically made everybody get off the freeway, all at one exit. Do you understand how many people commute and travel on that freeway? Especially the 80, because that's, like I said, that's leaving the Bay, you know, leaving or coming into the Bay, going towards Sacramento and other places. So you have to understand all of the trucks, let alone cars and different company vehicles, company trucks, small ones, but up to the big rigs because, hey, this is the interstate. You know what I mean? Um, I can't even guess or estimate how many cars. I don't know. Maybe we could Google it. I don't know, Igor, if you could probably find out how many cars actually they think travel, commute in and out of the Bay Area on the 80. And yeah, like I said, this is 7 something in the morning, Um, so to make all of those people, those are thousands and thousands and thousands of cars, you know. And yeah, it still wasn't cleaned up. So I know that there was people, everybody was delayed this morning. If you thought you was gonna be to work like you normally do, got to be there at this time. It wasn't happening. It was not happening. And even when I finally got past it and was able to get off of the freeway, I knew for a fact that they still had, majority of the freeway blocked off. It was, news coverage and everything out there. What happened? What happened, Eagle?
On average, Highway 80 during commute hour sees 275,000 cars.
Wow. And that's going in either direction. So if you kind of want to break that down in half, that's still, that's still 130,000, 130 something thousand cars, possibly. And like I said, yeah, everybody making them have to all get off the freeway and then get back on the freeway a few entrances down. Like, the traffic was ridiculous this morning. There was no way of getting around none of that. Once you was stuck in it, you was stuck. But yeah, with that being said, I'm a firm believer. Hey, people need to slow down. And a lot of I don't know what people is doing nowadays. It seems like they getting real careless about stuff, like driving, like they don't think about the consequences or, repercussions of what could happen and how it could affect everybody. I just thought that was crazy. But it's like, yeah, whatever the situation was, I hope, there wasn't nothing too bad, you feel me? But if somebody out there wilding out, I can only ask why they doing that. But yeah, it showed inconvenience to everybody. So that was the longest I've spent on that freeway ever in my entire life. Not 3 hours. Not 3 hours. That's ridiculous. I could have been halfway down to LA. You know what I mean? 3 hours? Like, your day is over with. Like, I'm pretty sure it was some people that was sitting there. You could tell just looking at the people's faces, you looking at other people in their cars, like, first of all, they probably just got on the freeway, but, they wasn't even necessarily able to turn around, or like you said, they didn't just cross the bridge, so it's too late for them to try to turn around and go home. But you could tell some people just didn't, look like they didn't want to be bothered. And then you look like some people was calling in like, hey, people was taking pictures and everything. Like, hey, this is what's going on. I'm not making this up. You know what I mean? They had traffic stop, but they mentioned that it was all on the news and the radio. And, yeah, like I said, they had everything blocked off. I ain't never seen that. And I don't know how serious it was, but as I got to the area of passing it, I didn't see, again, if they had it blocked off, for the evidence team to come or forensic team or whatever they do, that's one thing. Because other than that, it was like I only saw one car really, and if it was officer-involved situation, you know what I mean, where somebody got beside themselves and got shot, then it was like, okay, y'all just blocking this all off for this, you know. But we got to do better, people. That's all I'm gonna say, you know, because it's starting to look again, like I said, compared to what I saw when I was gone. Some of the stuff out there that I seen is looking very familiar, you know. So yeah, when we start looking at you know the state of our community, you know, I'm serious, like, you know, even the streets, keeping them clean. You know, we know what happens if we don't keep them clean, but it's different when you're really seeing it. You know, it's different when you're really seeing in certain places where hey, they not paying that much attention at all. You know, like I said, I saw buildings that you know were pieces of the foundation coming off. You know, and you know, it makes me again trip off of the condition of different properties that we see out here, residential and commercial, you know, and the asking prices and everything, you know, but overall the environment, just how it looks, is crazy. And another thing too that made me think about it was the fire that happened out here over the weekend in downtown Oakland, you know. And I'm pretty sure if you're from the Bay Area, you know what I'm talking about, but just so everybody can get on the same page, you know, there was a big fire that happened downtown Oakland on Broadway, and it also happened to be a building connected to, is right above the Dope Era store, Mr. Fab's clothing store. There was it was an older apartment building. I believe they said it had 47 units in that building and like 200 residents or something like that. I gotta double check, but there was a fire that happened in the building. I want to say that they mentioned it might have started from a battery, like one of those lithium batteries, you know, probably to charge a scooter or something like that, you know, or a device. But yeah, the fire took place, and basically it just displaced a whole bunch of people, all of those residents. There were a few that were injured, but all of them made it out. But now, within a day or two, you know, not even 24 hours basically, after they all had to evacuate, they all received a termination letter from the landlord, terminating their leases. Which, you know, I guess on one side, that's part of the process, because, you know, hey, things have to get, put in order. They have to file them. I mean, I don't know if they were month-to-month leases with those tenants, but I also know it's going to be an insurance issue. And I also know that a lot of property management companies now and landlords, they want you to pay your own renter's insurance, you know? So it was just a trip learning some of that information, because it's like, wow, you know, as far as dealing with the insurance companies and the type of games they be trying to pull, you know what I mean? You really got to be on top of it, because you'll just be at a total loss. And, you know, that's unfortunate, especially, you know, like I said, I'm not 100% sure on what the cause of the fire is, but if we want to be honest, the building was an old building. You know, the building, it wasn't like it was a brand new development or anything like that. The building had been there for well over 20, 30 years. So, yeah, you know, when it's like, again, and I think I talked about this the last show, but, you know, they're overcharging us. Like, y'all want us to pay today's prices for 20-year-ago apartments, you know, 30, 40-year-old houses, 50-year-old houses, but you charging us as if all this stuff. And don't get me wrong, in some instances, the houses have been remodeled, but in others, they haven't, you know, because you should be able to show that without any problem. So, again, I just think, you know, that they need to do what's right when it comes to housing costs overall, because it has to balance out. And trying to overcharge, but at the same time, overcharging isn't balancing out because you're pricing people out, in my opinion. So I think that that's, some people might look at it as, it is this process of elimination. They trimming the fat or whatever you want to call it. But on the other side, you're gonna take a hit before in my opinion, I'm looking at it like you taking a loss, even though it might work out for you in the long run. Who knows? But that's just the thing is, we've also seen over the last couple of years that a lot of stuff isn't predictable. So, that's a gamble if you ask me, and to each their own. But I don't necessarily think that gambling with people's lives is fair, especially if they don't really have no input on it. So yeah, some other stuff I saw that's going on out here, and hopefully something good comes out of it. That a couple cities here in the Bay Area, Oakland and San Francisco being two of the main ones, but they've received, I believe, funding towards housing people and getting people off the streets. I thought it was kind of funny though, because, like, for example, we all know that the Super Bowl is coming up. The Super Bowl is only a few weeks away, and y'all trying to figure out how to clean up the streets, to have all these parties and all these other things going on, and trying to get prepared, the whole region, not just one city in particular, but to try to get the whole region ready for the quote-unquote Super Bowl experience, and trying to get all the tourism money and everything else that they could possibly get. But yeah, it's just funny to me how, hey, all of a sudden we got money to try to, get all these people off the street, clean it up. So my thing is first of all, this ain't the first time, and we just had the All-Star NBA, NBA All-Star weekend and stuff was out here last year. This year it's the Super Bowl, and I believe we have like the World Cup. The FIFA World Cup was supposed to be coming here also, but California and the Bay Area is, is still a big tourist spot. So the money is there, and the only reason that I could see that they're not able to be more consistent with some of these programs is because they're spending the money in other places. Or like I said, when it comes to, from housing costs to even wages, of course, they call themselves trying to trim the fat. But again, like I said, it's a gamble because you're going to lose before you gain. And you might not necessarily be able to recover from that. So, again, I'm hoping because, like I said, they sitting here and talking about, like, today they're supposed to be doing like a homeless count or whatever, so they can get like a full tally of the unhoused in Oakland today. But I'm really sitting there thinking about it, and it's like, again, now all of a sudden y'all got money to get these homeless off the street, but then at the same time you got businesses opening, but you got other businesses closing. They just announced that the Moxie Hotel is, they're no longer booking. They're no longer taking any bookings at that hotel, and it's about to close down. Again, certain restaurants, different things. I spoke on a couple of them the last show last week. Somebody must have heard us talking about it because at CVS in the city that they were going to close, I guess they've changed their mind now and decided to keep it open. So I'm pretty sure that community over there, you know, people stood up and, you know, hey, they had a few words to say because, again, what are you going to do if you don't have a convenience store or a drugstore, you know, to be able to get your medication and stuff, and especially for, like I said, elderly people, you know, that's them having to travel. Some of them probably not in shape to be able to travel that far, or they can't afford it. You know, it's expensive. You know, things like that. That I think overall, I mean, of course, us as citizens, it does fall on us because whatever it is that we got to take care of it. You know what I mean? So just like I said, you know, as far as the communities, if we want our communities to still be habitable for us, then we gotta still do our part to maintain them. You know what I mean? So again, I you know, I don't know necessarily why people act like they thought the world was going to end, or, you know, with COVID and everything else happening, where, you know, all the riots and the breaking in the stores and all that. But ultimately, all that did was set your community back, you know? And you're not really paying attention to some of the real problems, you know, from the pandemic till now. You know, it's been so many businesses shut down, schools, you know, even housing developments and other things, you know. A lot of people are having to move out one way or another. So, you know, and people are getting priced out. So it's something that, again, we got to be focused on. Same thing in the job market. You know, if you're not going to work right now currently and actively still training or, you know, trying to obtain other skills so you can further your career, either in the current field that you're working in, or if you're able to elevate into a better working field with better pay and different things, if you're not striving to do those things every day, you're going to be misplaced. Like I said, they got robots to take our jobs now. They got robots to do all those general labor, entry-level jobs. Okay, they already developing replacements for that. So everybody has to be, you know, digital literate, as far as, you know, understanding technology, how to navigate through, you know, on the net, on these apps. You know, like it says, the World Wide Web is a whole different ball game. You got to be able to know how to, you know, do other things. You got to use your brain muscles, you know, as well as everything else. But yeah, shit, I'm trying to think what else was it that I saw that I wanted to talk about, because I mean, again, I see that I seen the protests is going on right now. Different unions is on strike. We had the stuff going on with the Kaiser. We had the stuff going on with you know, I guess the Kaiser, the employees there, you know, they're demanding, and again, like what we were just talking about, this is stuff that I find interesting because, okay, where is the money going? And how do we have money for certain things but not money for other things? Because every time I turn around, I swear it seemed like every year or so, or every 2 years, people in the medical field are going on strike for one reason or another. And most of the reasons typically seem to be the same. It either has to do with pay, you know, majority of the time, or them being understaffed, just different things. And so right now, there's possibly one of those that's going to take place, and it'll be taking place all over California, because and they're, you know, what they're fighting for is typically the same stuff all over again. They're asking for more staff. You know, they're saying that they're understaffed, so they need to be able to hire more people. you know, and I guess not just necessarily from a medical standpoint, but also from a safety standpoint. You know, whether I guess there are, you know, situations in certain facilities where, you know, things get dangerous. You know, all types of people come through the emergency room. You know, so I can totally understand that as an employee, you shouldn't have to fear for your safety when trying to treat a patient. You know what I mean? And there should be a protocol, some type of procedure already in place. You know, I mean, I always look and you see, like even around here, I notice at the hospitals, they have security as well as, you know, officers. You know, typically they might have one officer, you know, on duty or at the facility at that time, unless people are there for emergency or unless you're at a county hospital. Now, a county hospital, it typically you'll see a little bit more officers lingering around. You know what I mean? But as of course, county hospital is the general hospital in most cities, so that's where most of, you know, you could say the lower income people or, you know, medium to lower income people would frequent, you know. But again, there are other hospitals where, you know, it's not necessarily like that, and I guess they figure, hey, people, you know, have to pay, whether it's insurance or whatever, you know, they paying a little bit more money to come to this hospital versus another one. And they have security there too, but I guess not enough for certain situations, you know. And I totally agree with that too. Nobody should have to, you know, I can tell you guys a quick story that even happened to me. I was hospitalized one time, and I broke my leg. And, you know, when your adrenaline is going to different things, you don't think about it. But then afterwards, you start to feel it. So here I am. My leg is sticking out, broke. And, you know, I guess, of course, adrenaline, anxiety, you know, all this stuff. So I'm all over the place. They're trying to tell me that they have to set my leg as well as give me a shot. You know, and I'm talking about with a needle, one of these type of needles, Igor, with the long things, yeah. You know, and I'm sitting there, and when I tell you, I tried to fight all them people off. They had to come, you know, it was more than 7, 8 people trying to hold me down. And, you know, I ain't gonna say it was necessarily it wasn't their fault, because it wasn't. It was, you know, but I didn't care at that moment. And if anybody got hurt in the process, I wasn't thinking about them at the time. I was thinking about myself, how much pain I was already in, and let alone what they was gonna do, talking about they had to reset my leg, and you know, as well as give me that shot at the same time. So, you know, again, they're just doing their job, and they shouldn't have to be in certain situations even like that. And that's why, you know, sometimes they do have extra, even, you know, male staff, male nurse staff, or, you know, male nurse assistants or other assistants that, you know, for situations like that where it's like, hey, you might have to even restrain somebody just to, you know, give them the medication, or, you know, you trying to fix something. You know what I mean? They could be bleeding out and, you know, out of their mind, and, you know, all kind of stuff. So I definitely understand. Or people, you know, on drugs, you know, or medicated, or not on drugs, you know, people that is, you know, having mental health breakdowns, and they, you know, they don't have their medicine, but they done picked up a scalpel or something, and now you got an issue inside the hospital among all these other people, you know, children as well, that are trying to get treated. So, yeah, if I don't recall ever hearing necessarily before, when it came to these type of strikes, that I never heard them really list that as an issue. You know what I mean? Well, I take that back. The last time I believe it was mentioned, But it was mentioned, and I think that's also why they mention it more now, because of the BIP era, the BIPing era, you know, and all of that. Again, you know, everybody hopping out, you know, with the ski mask on and, you know, breaking into people's cars or, you know, I remember there was a time out here, I believe it was at Kaiser, where, and they talked about it on the news, where some of the security would have to escort the female nurses and stuff back and forth to their cars. You know, or it got to the point where the staff was told not to leave, basically to bring their lunch to work, you know, because people were being robbed or getting attacked, you know, going on their lunch breaks and different things. And that's not something that should be happening, you know. Them people is out here putting their life on the line to save other people's lives, you know. And again, I come from a different era, so I don't necessarily understand it, but, you know, common sense, which again we know isn't common, but common sense kind of just teaches you to appreciate certain shit. You feel me? Like, there's certain jobs that, you know, people are literally going above and beyond for the better of somebody else. And you got to respect those people. You got to respect those people that's willing to go the distance, you know. Even police, you know what I'm saying? We all got different opinions about them, you know. I have mixed opinions about officers, but I can understand what some of the, you know, purpose of that job is for, you know, on a more positive note, you know what I mean? And if it, you know, I can also understand the other side of it. But again, you know, if their primary function, you know, at this point is supposed to be, you know, to sit here and protect, you know, civilians or look out for the safety of civilians, then, you know, you kind of got to let that slide, you know what I mean? They just doing their job, you know. And again, if your job don't align with their job, then you just got to make sure that you're good at your job. You know what I mean? You got to be better at hide and seek. You got to be better at duck hunt, all of that, man. You just got to be better at whatever it is that you're doing, you know. But again, it's still rules, and, you know, everybody human, you know. So, I said that's my take on it, is that hopefully they'll sit here and we'll be able to do right by everybody. Other than that, I don't have too much else to talk about. I got thrown off today, y'all, by this traffic, and got to get right back in it, and hope and pray that ain't nothing else, you know, crazy going on. We've been talking about it. I don't understand why it seemed like it's the freeway all of a sudden. Like it's the freeway. If it ain't a sideshow, or it's, you know, you got people that want to protest over the freeways or on the freeways. I'm kind of surprised that hasn't happened this time around yet, you know, because wasn't it like last year or so when they were just, they actually stopped the freeway, you know, where all the protesters, they, you know, tied themselves together or whatever on the 880, as well as it happening on the bridge, on the Bay Bridge before. That was like a year ago, right? A year or two? But yeah, I haven't seen that this time around. I mean, you know, you see people, you know, up there with their signs and stuff over the overpasses. So, you know, I guess that's a peaceful protest, you know what I mean? Even though in my opinion, I think that if they really want to make a difference, they need to be, you know, going and to the different buildings, the different branches of government that they really, you know, need to, whose attention they need to get. I don't necessarily think that standing on the overpass holding a sign, you know, and people honking back at you, that to me, that's not making a difference. You know, I mean, I guess it's raising some awareness, but, you know, again, I don't, anything with the freeway, I'm kind of anti that. Because I just think that we can, you know, we could do a little better. we could do a little better. That's all. But other than that, I was chilling. Martin Luther King Day was dope. You know, I was back out here for that. A lot of different events. And again, as you know, that was one day I could tell, you know, all the different cities, they had events going on, and you could see everybody was out there unified, you know, and trying to push positivity. So I think that, you know, we continue down that road, and we'll, you know, get a better outcome when it comes to all of this stuff. Because, like I said, you know, economically, or, you know, money is one thing, but, you know, the rest of it, it just has to do with the work that we put in on each other, you know, just to coexist better. That's really the only way I could put it, you know, to coexist better, whether you like each other or not, but just having that respect for each other, you know, to not do certain things. Like I said, you know, this, we already see, you know, if we don't take care of the community, they gonna let, you know, whatever happened is gonna happen, and then at that point, hey, they either gonna make us move out and take it back, you know, meaning the government, you know, or is gonna be you know, some changes made. So you gotta ask yourself, you know, what you want to do about it. What do you want to see happen? And, you know, do your part to make something happen. You know, again, it don't have to be like that, and it shouldn't. It's not fair to us, you know, either, that, okay, hey, they come through, they spend the money to try to make, you know, our cities look extravagant for a week, and then after that week is over, it go right back to being, you know, ghetto again. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, the streets was clean for 2 weeks, and now all of a sudden they dirty again, and, you know, and it doesn't make any sense. You know, so like I said, please, for those, shout out to those that are already doing it too, because I do be seeing that on the internet. There be a lot of people with their own trucks and stuff, and you know, shout out to them. And I will say that some of them that I seen were Latin, you know. And again, seeing how I just, you know, took the trip I did, I could see that how some of them, they understand what this is about or what could happen, you know, as far as people that have trucks were offering to do hauling and stuff like that in certain communities. You know what I mean? Especially, you know, when, hey, it's dump sites or different things going on that, you know, they aren't being cleaned up on a regular or consistent basis, and people are taking the initiative to do that. Because like I said, we got to look out for it if ain't nobody else going to do it. We saw that when the waste management companies went on strike. You know? I don't know if y'all remember that. That was last year. And so, yeah, they was not playing. Garbage was not getting picked up. Okay? And, like, you know, when you think about the broader aspect of things, and you're talking about, okay, it's 50,000 people in this one area, you know, and how much garbage that amounts to, you know, how much garbage can be accumulated, let alone in a week or 2 weeks' time, or if not longer, when you're talking about, like I said, 50,000 households or even 50,000 people. You know, that's a lot of garbage and a lot of just stuff that needs to be disposed of that's not getting disposed of properly, and it can affect us, and then it can affect our health, and it can affect the environment, which can also affect our health. So we just got to be mindful, you know what I'm saying, for us and for the next generations, period. You know, as we don't know what's about to happen with these wars. You know, it's supposed to be more tariff wars possibly on the way. And, you know, even for some of the people that, I know what y'all thinking, because I was talking to somebody about that, because, oh, well, I could just go to another country. Yes and no. Yes and no, because again, you know, with what's going on with some of these wars, that's what's going to change some of this. You know, there are there's a bill that they're trying to put in place that ultimately would ban dual citizenship. You know, stop people from being able to have dual citizenship. Um, and like I said, that was something that I was inquiring about too when I was down in Mexico, because somebody was trying to explain it, because it was like, well, you can't necessarily have a house in both countries. Like, even if you were right there at the border, like, I guess, yes, you know, it's not necessarily that Mexico, but I think it's on the United States as far, but the law, yes, or even, you know, you can frequent back and forth across the border, but yeah, I was trying to get to the bottom of that. Like, okay, you know, you can't own a house on both sides, and you know what I mean? You know, or like you said, work on one side, or you know, technically, you know, have dual citizenship. Like, you know, I mean, I guess you can. It's a bunch of hoops that you got to go through, but you know, like you said, they trying to change a lot of that now too. So you guys definitely got to pay attention to that, and regardless of it, and regardless of where you end up, you still gonna have to take care of where you at. So, yeah, that's about it. I'm trying to remember what else is going on this weekend. Because, I mean, you know, oh, yeah, it's definitely Aquarius season. Shout out to the Aquarius. Me, myself, I'm big Aquarius right here. My birthday is coming up in a few weeks. But, yeah, shout out to all the Aquarius that's out there. You know, let me know what y'all got planned for your birthday. You know, I'm still trying to put together some ideas, you know. But it's a lot of stuff that I see that's going to be going on over the next few weeks anyway. You know, we got the Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year events and parades that are going to be coming up. You know, Black Joy Parade, other, you know, festivals and events related to Black History Month. Again, the Super Bowl is about to be out here, so it's going to be a million shows and watch parties and things like that going on. But, of course, outside of that is concerts. I think the big one that's going to be next week is with New Edition and Tony Braxton and Boyz II Men. That's who's supposed to be on there. But, yeah, it's a lot of different concerts and different stuff to get into. Too much to necessarily name right now. But I'm definitely going to be looking into some of it and seeing what I could get into. So, you know, keep your eye out. You know what I'm saying? If you think you see me in traffic, you probably do. You know, it's Fan Fest coming up because, you know, they're getting ready to kick off baseball season soon. So I know, like, for the Giants, they doing different Fan Fests. And I know the Oakland Ballers are probably going to be announcing one soon. Other than that, you know, is Go Warriors. You feel me? We're waiting to see what happened with these trades. Unfortunately, Jimmy Butler is out for the season. But, you know, we still got action. You know, them boys, they can still ball. They can do what needs to be done. You know what I mean? So I'm rooting for them because, you know, we got to root for somebody. We all saw what happened, you know, over the weekend with the Niners. I don't really want to speak about it. I was out of the country. But again, you know, they played a hell of a season. So I can just say it like that, because for them to go as far as they did with basically majority of the team, or majority of, you know, all of their, you know, star players, or, you know, start first string, whatever you want to call it, they main players was all injury prone. They was dealing with injuries the whole season and was still whooping ass basically with their reserve players. You know, I think that say a lot about, you know, their heart and just they was really out playing ball, you know, and waiting to see what happened next season. You know what I mean? Like I said, give some of them people a chance to heal up. And we already saw, like, some of those last-minute additions to the team those dudes came in the ball. You know what I'm saying? And that, that's what they supposed to do. That's what we paying them for. So hopefully, everybody can get right over the off season. They not there, so I don't have a dog in the fight as far as the Super Bowl. I'm just gonna be outside to party and get some content. So again, you definitely gonna see me. We might even give y'all a itinerary, an update of where y'all can find us at, or even come, join us, in some of the festivities. But yeah, it's another one like the other one. That's all I can say. Thank y'all for rocking with me. I'm tired. To tell y'all the truth, that 3 hours on the freeway, and I gotta get on the freeway for another 2 minimum. Another 2.5 minimum. And it's one thing when you know why. It's the other thing when when it's unexpected. And like you said, what if you ain't got no gas? Because I sure, I'm gonna keep it real, y'all. I had a half a tank, so I wasn't tripping like that. But when I started noticing it got past an hour, luckily I was in a commuter car that didn't burn a lot of gas. But I know for some of them other people, they was getting frustrated, okay? And gas is not cheap, and I don't understand why, especially if we going to war with people over oil and everything else. Like, which one is it? I saw the prices was down 1 minute, and now it came back and it's different. Make that make sense. And I seen something that said that I think the diesel trucks, I don't know if they smuggling diesel gas. I seen something about that this morning. Like I said, y'all, I do watch the news, in passing faithfully, started off the day like that. But, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I seen the lowest gas I seen out here was like $3.39 the other week, and then certain gas stations, of course. And that's what I don't understand either. How is it some gas stations only a few blocks from the next one, and they charging $1 difference in gas? Like I said, the cheapest I saw here was $3.39. Then there's some places where it's $3.49 or $3.59. $3.69, $3.79. Okay, that's kind of understandable, but to go from seeing something that say $3.39 to something that's saying $4.79 or $4.39, like, whoa, what are we doing? What's the difference in the gas? What is the difference in the gas? That's all I want to know. Who do y'all got to pay off? Like, make it make sense. And I hope that they balance all of that out, especially because we y'all seen that we ain't getting no stimulus no time soon, no tariff check or whatever it's supposed to be called. The man done bamboozled everybody. 1 minute he said, hey, he was giving everybody checks, and the next minute he didn't remember saying that. Now it's he's gonna do it and without Congress. He's just gonna issue the checks. But I don't know what to believe anymore. I'm not saying that he lying, but until the checks show up or until it's deposited, I'm just gonna ride it out. But yeah, I'm finna get ready to get up out of here. So definitely like, share, and subscribe. It don't cost nothing to like the button. Tell a friend. Like I said, if y'all got any opinions, or any recommendations too, that's what I could say. That's, before we cut off, because last week we were talking about burgers and stuff, right, Igor? Okay, and I know we was talking about burgers because we was talking about like smash burgers, which I did see a smash burger place in Mexico. That was surprising. I also saw some boba tea shops, and some other stuff. So it's like, you know, hey, you're in Mexico, but certain stuff you can get right out there too. It was some sushi spots and everything, you know. Um, and so, you know, they definitely current on what's going on. But the other burger spot that we wasn't it? It was Super Duper Burgers, right? The new burger spot that they was supposed to be opening up. Well, I was near one of those today. There's one of those in Emeryville at the public market. You get what I'm saying? And there was some people in there. I didn't go there though. I went and got some other food from somewhere else. But now that I know where it's at, I'm gonna have to give it a review and see what's so super duper about they burgers. You know what I mean? So yeah, if it's any other places that y'all want to recommend, like food spots or you know new spots or old spots anywhere in the Bay Area, you know, leave them in the comment section because I'm definitely into trying some stuff. Like I said, I went to get food earlier. I didn't get the burger. I was like, I'm gonna wait till later and actually, you know, film while I was in there. But what I did do was I stopped at an Indian restaurant inside of there, and I had some goat. You know, and I had some lamb too, but I've tried lamb before, but I had goat today, and so you know that's what's up. It was you know, it was different. You gotta try new things. Like I said, new year, new me. You know, last year I was eating. Well, the last 2 years I was eating, you know, alligator and stuff like that. You know, but yeah, this year I'm trying something, you know, a little different. I even got, of course, y'all know I got some of the bottles with the worms in them and the scorpions and whatnot, but I don't know if I'm be able to eat those, you know. Matter of fact, if any of you guys that are watching, if you've ever had that, you know, please, I need y'all to drop a comment or something. Give me an idea of what I need to prepare for. Like, is it nasty or no because it's soaked in alcohol? You know, no, I mean, but, you know, of course, we grown. So, you know, I'm being for real, though. Like, what does it do to the taste of the worm? You know, what's the significance? I know in some other countries, you know, they eat them like snacks. You know what I mean? Worms and other, you know, insects where they might even fry them and people eat them like snacks. But what is the purpose of having the worm in the tequila or the Scorpio? And I even was at one spot downtown Tijuana. There was this big old jar, and they had a snake in the bottom of the jar. Now, I don't know what kind of drink that was, and I definitely wasn't trying to find out. But at that time, you know, I'm kind of skeptical about certain stuff. You know, yeah, I ate octopus out there, but I don't want nothing that got a snake just sitting there soaking in it. That didn't make no sense to me. But yeah, if somebody can explain some of this to me, you know, and I'm gonna look it up on, you know, try to research it to get some information. But I'd rather hear from somebody. You know, I want an honest opinion on what the reason for it is, and you know the significance of it, I guess. But yeah, I'm trying to find some other spots out here though, you know, to try some different stuff for my birthday. You know what I mean? Or just for my birthday month period. You know, since it's gonna be kicking off soon. My birthday's on Valentine's Day. For those that's wondering, you know, that's February 14th. But you know, I said, well, I'm getting started early. You know, so I'm trying to plan it out. If you got any recommendations on any type of food, anything that I should try, you know, let me know. Nothing too weird though. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Nothing too weird. The octopus taco that I had, that's probably like some of the weirdest food that I say I've ate so far. You know what I mean? I've had bison, I've had deer before, you know, duck, you name it, just different things. But like I said, you know, goat, lamb. But some of that other stuff, I'm not sure if I'm ready to go there. You know, frog legs, they do got some spots out here in the Bay that I heard got some good ones. So I'm thinking if I should try it here because, you know, otherwise I got to wait till I take a trip down south. But, yeah, got any recommendations on any type of food? And I love I love Caribbean food. You know, I'm an oxtail fiend. Um, Seafood, I love it. I'm a fanatic. All day, every day. But definitely, if anybody could point me in the direction of that too, I'm with it. We can give you a review right here on the show. Might even have to work something out. Get you some commercials. I know y'all was hearing them. You know what I mean? I told y'all we was getting it together. So if you or anybody got to have a business or organization, and you have something that you want to promote, that you want to get out there to the people, hit us up and let's see what we can work out. As well, any upcoming events, different things like that. Let's see what we can make happen. With that being said, I'm the Tycoon. That's Igor on the ones and twos, and y'all already know what to do. This is another episode of Street Level Impact Podcast, and we'll catch y'all next week.